don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices. So it's on the record numerous times.
It's the first time a former president has been called to answer questions before a House committee. Former President Bill Clinton will give a deposition before the House Oversight Committee a day after his wife did it. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, she answered questions for nearly 6 hours.
I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein.
Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton arrived for her deposition Thursday morning in Chappaqua, New York, and she says she told members of Congress repeatedly she didn't know Jeffrey Epstein, nor did she know about accusations he was trafficking young girls.
We worked for 6 months to get the Clintons to come in, and then they acted like they were going to come in, and then they didn't show up. And obviously we moved to hold the Clintons in contempt. And I think one thing that surprised the Clintons, they assumed the Democrats on the committee would vote in a partisan manner and not vote to hold the Clintons in contempt. And what they learned was a majority of the Democrats on the committee either voted to hold the Clintons in contempt or voted present. And I think that's a statement that this investigation is serious. It is a bipartisan investigation. The American people have a lot of questions. To my knowledge, the Clintons haven't answered very many, if any, questions about their knowledge or involvement with Epstein and Maxwell.
Let me just begin by saying that Oversight Democrats, from day one, we have said that we want to talk to anyone, any person that has information about Jeffrey Epstein, about his crimes, about how he was able to get so much wealth. We will talk to any single person, whether that is a Democrat, a Republican, how much wealth they have, how powerful their position is. We want to talk to anyone. So we're happy to be here, and we're glad that both Secretary Clinton and former President Clinton are willing to talk to this committee. I also think it's important to note, I'm glad to see that we have our Republican colleagues here. As a big group of them, I wish they would have joined us at the Les Wexner deposition, but I'm glad that they're here now to get questions answered. That is an important part of our investigation. Let me just add that as it relates to Secretary Clinton, who's here today, she has been very clear. She's never met Jeffrey Epstein. We have no evidence of her having any interactions with Mr. Epstein. And so I think that's important to note as we walk into this deposition.
She took every question from every single member. This is nowhere near from over. And in making my notes today, I've got names of individuals that I believe we need to haul to the Oversight Committee.
Lawmakers also asked about the Clinton Global Initiative, referencing emails and documents previously released by the Department of Justice.
She said that she was a senator and you would have to ask her husband.
After the deposition, Clinton addressed reporters and was asked about her relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. She described Maxwell as an acquaintance and confirmed Maxwell attended her daughter Chelsea's 2010 wedding.
She came as the plus one, the guest of someone who was invited.
Clinton says Republicans asked her about conspiracy theories.
I started being asked about UFOs and a series of questions about Pizzagate, one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories.
Chairman James Comer and the House Oversight Committee subpoenaed both Clintons. Committee members say they expect to learn more from former President Bill Clinton.
The number of times that she said, I don't know, you'll have to ask my husband, was more than a dozen.
Late last year, the Department of Justice released new photos showing the former president with Epstein and other photos of Clinton with an unknown person. Clinton has consistently denied any wrongdoing. Hillary Clinton says the former president's connection to Epstein ended.
The connection that he had with Epstein ended several years before anything about Epstein's criminal activities came to light.
And the House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer says the full video of Hillary Clinton's full deposition should be posted online sometime today. He says the same thing for former President Bill Clinton. It should be posted online 24 hours after they wrap up.
Secretary Clinton is also completely cooperating with the deposition and the committee and is answering questions in full faith and in good faith. What is not acceptable is oversight Republicans breaking their own committee rules that they established with the secretary and her team, which you've all reported and you've seen by releasing photos. Not acceptable, and it was gracious of the secretary and her team to continue the deposition.
Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and a list of many rich and powerful people from around the United States and around the world abused and raped more than 1,000 people who were children, many of whom were children at the time. And today we are sitting through an incredibly unserious clown show of a deposition where members of Congress and the Republican Party are more concerned about getting their photo op of Secretary Clinton than actually getting to the truth and holding anyone accountable.
As a former prosecutor, I've been involved in leading investigations in serious offenses, and this ain't it. What we're seeing is political theater. What we're seeing is folks that are looking for headlines and tweets as opposed to doing the business of going about getting justice for the victims in this case, and survivors in this case, I should say, as well. What we're seeing today is we have not learned one new thing.
Obviously, everybody was very taken aback by the committee rules being essentially not enforced and certainly just broken immediately. That is not acceptable, especially when the secretary said from day one that she wanted the press in the room. When the incident happened, I think this is something that can be reported. The secretary's team continued to demand, even after the incident, to let the press into the room, because what was important for her is that her answers to the questions not be edited, that the video not be edited. And so we understand that, and we're committed to getting this video transcript out immediately.
Lauren, to be honest, okay, not only do I not care that you took the photo, but yes, I'm going to ask you and you're going to have to explain it, but I can't come at you because you were one of the champions of wanting to release this. And, you know, you've been on it from jump. You've been an advocate of it for the right reasons. So to me, you've got high ground. But what was this about? You're trying to make some money on the side?
No, Chris. So I did ask permission of committee staff, and I was told that I could release a photo during the break. And we missed that break by just a few minutes. So it was a few minutes before our break. And then we quickly came together and all agreed no photos will be taken, no photos will be released. However, there were Democrats and those in the minority party that were releasing information about the hearing throughout the day. Topics that were discussed were being leaked to the media. And so there was a lot of things that were coming out of that room. But regardless, it was a photo. It was taken before the hearing had began, and it wasn't released at the break time. And now we have come to an agreement that no members or staff will take pictures in the hearing. But you're right, Chris. I have been an advocate for getting justice for the victims from the beginning, and that is why I went against my party and I forced this vote and forced the release of these files. And we are starting to see what is in them. Unfortunately, we don't see enough. And that is part of why we are having this bipartisan deposition. Democrats and Republicans put forward a subpoena for the Clintons, and Democrats and Republicans voted to hold them in contempt of Congress when they failed to uphold that subpoena.
Here with us now, Richard Goodstein, Democratic strategist, former advisor to both Bill and Hillary Clinton. That was a scene. Did you expect it?
Not unpredictable, right?
Okay.
Look, we kind of knew because Hillary and Bill had signed statements under oath about what they did and mainly didn't know about Epstein. She didn't know him at all. She'd had passing glances with Ghislaine Maxwell at social events where there were hundreds of people.
Okay.
The Republicans knew that, and clearly what was going on here is Republicans know they will be in the minority come November, and they want to kind of take their last shot to rough up the Clintons because that's how they get their fun and appeal to their base.
I mean, Democrats said bring them in too. Like, it's not just a Republican thing.
Well, it was me. Look, the fact of the matter is, if the Democrats had their way, they'd call in people who actually were Jeffrey Epstein's best friend, Donald Trump. They would call in people like, I don't know, Elon Musk, who said, "What night is your wildest party?" Okay. People who really engaged, and Trump, you remember, famously was quoted in 2002 saying, you know, Jeffrey likes the girls on the young side. So he obviously knew something. Bill Clinton didn't know that. Hillary didn't.
All right, so we're going to hear from Bill Clinton tomorrow. Here's the thing. I just heard from Hillary Clinton. She just spoke to the world. If you're Bill Clinton tomorrow, how do you not come out and talk to the cameras, right? Like if your wife does it, you got to do it too.
I see no reason to think, look, that he won't. He's perfectly capable of speaking for himself. In the early 2000s, he was going to Haiti, to the Congo, to all these places that were in need with the Clinton Foundation hat on. But they weren't funded yet, so they could use planes like Jeffrey Epstein's to get there. That's a far cry from all the pictures we've seen of Trump kind of palling around with Epstein with all the young girls and pointing to them and dancing. Look, it's just wildly different.
Here was what James Comer said that Hillary Clinton said about her husband. Let's roll that real quick.
The number of times that she said, "I don't know, you'll have to ask my husband," was more than a dozen.
So what's Bill Clinton going to say?
He's going to say just what I said, which is his engagement. Look, Epstein was a donor to Democratic causes, so he ended up, you'd see pictures of him in the White House when Clinton was there. I have pictures like that, too. And then he took Epstein's plane on these foundation missions. That's what he's going to say. Okay. The notion that somehow or other, again, if you went through the Epstein files and rank ordered all the people that engaged with Epstein in ways that put him in jail, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton would be probably at the bottom of that list.
So here was Hillary Clinton afterwards about some of the other questions she got.
It then got, at the end, quite unusual because I started being asked about UFOs and a series of questions about Pizzagate, one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories that was propagated on the internet.
Okay, so clearly the scope went broad. And if the scope went broad on Hillary Clinton's day, I got to imagine the scope gets broad on Bill Clinton tomorrow. What will he do if they start poking around on other issues?
It speaks to how sad the Republicans on this committee were that they didn't prepare, that they ended up asking questions about Pizzagate, about UFOs, that's the best they could do to try to lay a glove on her. Believe me, Bill Clinton is perfectly capable of answering whatever they throw at him. And the fact is, it's not an unlimited scope. I mean, she was a good sport to answer it, but she would have been well within her rights to say, sorry, that's not why I'm here. And that would have been perfectly fine.
You know, you're going after the Republicans here, and I hear you, and that's your position as a former advisor of the Clintons. But this could have happened with Joe Biden as president, with Merrick Garland as the attorney general, with Democrats running Washington for 2 years. And I heard Hillary Clinton today in her opening speech talk about James Comer and House Republicans. She name-checked Marco Rubio, Pam Bondi, and she didn't talk about this could have been investigated back then.
Yeah. So the short answer is people ascribe to the Biden Justice Department or Justice Departments before him the venality that we're seeing out of the current Justice Department. Like, Trump is using this Justice Department in a way that no president has ever used a Justice Department before. So to say, well, they could have done it too, the fact of the matter is, so long as the Ghislaine Maxwell appeal was live, which was true until 2025, until Trump became president, the Justice Department couldn't have released these documents. That would have been against their rules. So, and to have devoted the resources it would have taken to go through 6 million documents, that would have been an unwise kind of choice for them.
Again, no one's accusing anyone of any wrongdoing, but I think the American people have a lot of questions, and our House Oversight Committee is committed to getting answers. We're committed to transparency. We've already seen a lot of very powerful people who have been held accountable by having to resign in disgrace from various boards all over the world. We're going to continue to seek the truth, try to figure out how the government failed the victims, and try to hopefully hold more people accountable.
What we're interested in today is a serious deposition. We have real questions that deserve serious answers from former President Clinton. And we have said from day one that Democrats want to talk to anyone, whether they are a Republican or a Democrat, no matter how powerful they are, whatever position that they've been in. If anyone has information about Jeffrey Epstein and certainly the horror that he inflicted on so many women and children, we want to hear from them.
You know, they had a chance to do it in public, and I wish they had done it in public. And I think they're making the wrong decision, avoiding doing it in public. I thought it was very repetitive. I thought that they asked literally the same questions over and over again, which didn't seem to me to be very productive. And then, as I said, toward the end, there were other questions that were totally off subject. So if they are going to fulfill their responsibilities to literally investigate the investigations, which is what they originally said was the scope of their work, I think they could have spent the day more productively.
And she also said there were substantive questions yesterday, too. But one reason there were repetitive questions about Epstein is because we went through every email and every correspondence that implied Hillary Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein communicated often. You all have seen the email where he said that she looks better in person and all of that. Those were questions we asked. So every item of evidence that would suggest Hillary Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein had a close relationship, we went and asked about that. So it may have seemed repetitive because there was a lot of documentation that would suggest that she had a relationship with Epstein.
What we do not want today is a sideshow and questions about UFOs or about conspiracy theories from decades ago, which is what unfortunately happened yesterday when a series of bizarre questions were asked of Secretary Clinton. And Secretary Clinton was clear. She never met Jeffrey Epstein. She never went on the island. She was never on the plane. And she had no knowledge, of course, of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes.
She was unhinged, and I hope that President Clinton is less unhinged today than his wife was yesterday. You'll see it. I asked her very pointed questions, and you'll see that in the transcript and the video that comes out, and you'll see how she responded as well. Screaming.
I hope that the Republicans release the actual video unedited immediately, because to say that the secretary was screaming, I think is beyond a mischaracterization. What happened yesterday was a disgrace. To be asking about UFOs, Pizzagate, conspiracy theories, you yourself are going to see the types of questions that she was asked to defend her husband, not directly to her, not information about her. I think they need to release the videos right now. You should all be let in.
We're going to get the video out as quickly as we can get it uploaded in the sound and everything from yesterday. So this is, for all practical purposes, a public deposition. The American people are going to see it. I've heard C-SPAN's going to air it wire to wire. So everyone's going to see what was asked yesterday. And I think that'll answer a lot of questions, especially with Lutnick and other things like that. Throughout the day, we'll try. Yesterday, Ms. Clinton deferred a lot of questions to her husband today. There were at least a dozen times when she said, "You'll have to ask my husband that. I can't answer that." So we already had a big portfolio of questions for him, and that increased yesterday.
Are you 100% confident that there isn't anything that the former president knows about Epstein's crimes?
I am, and I think the chronology of the connection that he had with Epstein ended several years before anything about Epstein's criminal activities came to light, and that he was charged and sadly given a sweetheart deal, which, as I said in my statement, had that not happened, perhaps his predatory behavior could have been stopped earlier. But I think it is fair to say that the vast majority of people who had contact with him before his criminal pleas in 2008 were like most people. They did not know what he was doing. And I think that that is exactly what my husband will testify to.
Well, I think everyone's seen there are a lot of photos that have been released by the Department of Justice as well as the Epstein estate. There are a lot of email correspondence that included President Clinton. We know President Clinton had, and Secretary Clinton confirmed this yesterday, Jeffrey Epstein was in the White House 17 times while Bill Clinton was president. We know that Bill Clinton flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane at least 27 times. So those are questions that we're going to ask. Everything that most media outlets have reported with respect to pictures and correspondence between Epstein, Maxwell, and Bill Clinton. These are all questions that we're going to ask today.
We're going to ask President Clinton the hard questions today. We're going to get to the truth about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. But let's be real, we're talking to the wrong president today. President Trump is the one who has not released 2.5 million files. President Trump is the one who is blocking our investigation. President Trump is the one who wants this to go away, but it will not go away. And so, yes, we will talk to President Clinton today, but moving forward, this needs to be not about party, but about getting to the truth and getting justice for the survivors.
I also want to add one other thing, which I think is really important. Republicans have now set a new precedent, which is to bring in presidents and former presidents to testify. So we're once again going to make that call that we did yesterday. We are now asking and demanding that President Trump officially come in and testify in front of the Oversight Committee. He appears in the Epstein files next to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell almost more than anybody else. So it's time for the president to answer questions about why files are missing from the DOJ, why there's been a White House cover-up, and why we continue in that administration to call this investigation a hoax.